Similarly, today on Cricbuzz Chatter, here on Cricbuzz with Dinesh Karthik and me, New Zealand winning a test match in India after 36 years. And just to put things in perspective before DK does, so I'm going to sort of pull the carpet from under his leg early. Um, Ijaz Patel was 1 month old when that happened. None of the other New Zealand players were born. You, though, were 3 years old. And I had done commentary on the first test match series. But that tells you just how long ago it was. That test match was actually a memorable test match here in Bangalore. We used to have rest days in test matches in those days. And after they came back, New Zealand only had five standing. Of the two commentators, one went out and fielded. The television cameraman went out and fielded. All kinds of things were happening. But let's come back to this game. 107 to get. I mean, it was always going to be insufficient. India needed New Zealand to be, what, 20 for 3 maybe. Might have been on another day with the way Bumrah bowled.
He was outstanding, I thought. We know how potent he is, but what he showed was if the conditions are also not in favor completely, still how he's able to extract so much out of the wicket. That's why I think he's a genius. He bowled brilliantly. He set up the first wicket nicely, and then he kept trying. In another day, just like you said, it could have easily been 3 wickets, but it was not meant to be. Still got Conway's wicket. He has the mental edge over Conway for sure, but it was a good spell, and also Siraj backed it up. He didn't give anything away. At a point, about almost 9 overs into, there were almost 9 runs after that. Tells you how tight they bowled with attacking fields, almost nothing given. So a very good spell, very encouraging signs from the bowling for the next couple of games and for the Australia tour that's coming later.
Okay, interesting you say that. But first, let's stay on Bumrah. I got the impression at one point that he was actually bowling grenades, unless Devon Conway was making it look like that a little bit more. 7.2 overs, 2 for 29. That was today. He bowled 4 balls yesterday. And towards the end, just flagged. After he'd bowled 8 overs, Rohit just looked at him and he said, "No, it's okay." Now, I'm interested in what you said about Siraj. Bowled tight, first 3, 4 overs. But did you expect him to have more in the wickets column?
To be fair, if you just go through his record, last couple of tests, 3 tests, hasn't been the best for him. I thought this was his best spell. Even in Bangladesh, I thought he could have bowled better. I thought Akashdeep was a better bowler there, but it was good to see Siraj backing up. Again, I will add him to the unlucky column a little bit. He could have easily picked up one that just went away. Wasn't meant to be, but he bowled a fiery spell. And you can see Siraj's strength in Test cricket is the fact that he can bring the ball back into the left-hander, but also the one that goes away off the seam. That is a good ball, and that went today. That is a sign that India will be happy with. India needs to fire their fast bowlers for them to win overseas tests, and Pune and Mumbai is going to be different, but we'll get to that. And Siraj firing looks a very important part of how India's puzzle will be in that Australian series. And in that front, I thought it was very good today.
I love how you quietly let it slip. Pune and Mumbai will be different. Okay, I'll talk about that. We'll keep that in mind. Tell the producer in case I forget. Tell me, come along. I thought he set up Latham beautifully. One leaving, the other swung back in when that outswinger he bowls. You think of Bumrah and you think the ball leaving the left hander. The one that swings back in was beautiful. He set up Conway, but I thought Will Young showed a very mature head on his shoulders, and we're going to talk about Rachin Ravindra at some length very shortly. Uh, Kuldeep, little off color. And very interestingly, in Indian conditions, normally sometimes even with the new ball, you go to Ashwin. Was there a little message saying, "I think you're off color"?
I wouldn't read too much into the Indian spinners. I think overall it wasn't their best game as a unit, be it Jadeja, be it Kuldeep or Ashwin for sure. It definitely wasn't their best game. And it's a good thing, I feel, and why I say that psychologically, it would hurt them. And you want those kind of bowlers to feel that pinch because when they come back real hard. I believe the conditions will suit them a lot more in Pune, and we'll see Ashwin and Jadeja playing massive roles in that. Kuldeep, as I said, I won't read too much into it. Wasn't his best test, but credit to New Zealanders the way they bat. They attacked him, and you can see bowling wrist spin in T20 is very different. Why the lack of wrist spinners in world cricket right now is because with attacking fields, say a slip, a silly point, it's very hard to stem the flow of runs, and that becomes the issue.
Yeah, so there you are. You might look at it and say, how well did India play? But that would be only half the story. It would be an unfair half of the story because the more accurate story is New Zealand bowled very well in large intervals, not just occasionally, in large intervals. The entire first innings throughout with the second new ball, 46 all out, 7 for 62 overall. I thought in the way they batted, and I think in this young fellow who's never going to need a hair transplant. I think they have found an absolute gem. He came out to bat today when there was still something happening there. Conway 17 of 39, cat on a hot tin roof, as Murli Karthik loves to say. Young was batting okay, but he came out and it just looked different. What struck you? Was it his footwork? Is his form just this beautiful thing that everything you do turns out well? Or was this preparation?
We have to say preparation. He's very good. We spoke about how he went to Chennai
Yeah.
before the series started. Not this series, before the Sri Lankan series. So he knew there was two series, one in Sri Lanka, one in India. So we came to Chennai, very close to my house, where he practiced. It's called the Drone Facility. He did really well. He called a bunch of bowlers. I think Chennai Super Kings Academy is where he practiced, and he did a proper research into what he would require in these conditions. And you can see the results coming through. Had a very good series of Sri Lanka, and he's started well here as well. But what is good about Rachin Ravindra? For a lot of young boys and girls, his approach to batting, yes, but also his technique, the ability to want to go on the front foot.
Yes.
Because he's played so much in New Zealand, he always backs himself to play the short ball well, which comes naturally to him. But his want to go to on the front foot, where he's giving that front press towards the ball, then it negates the swing and seam to a large extent because you're at the ball. You can drop your wrist if you want to, or play those drives or defend it with soft hands. What Conway struggled with is the fact that he was sitting a little back and he was trying to read it off the pitch, and that is a little hard. Whereas Rachin Ravindra commits to a certain swing, goes towards the ball, and then looks to leave it. And that was a major difference. And you will always find he might be troubled by slow swing bowlers, but people who are bowling much sharper, he'll always get onto the front foot and play a lot of lovely shots. Today, his second shot, the flick, was a very authoritative shot. Bumrah was looking good, and to play a shot like that tells you his head is on top of the ball, and he's so much more confident playing that. And that's why post that over, Bumrah kind of said, bowled another one, tried, but he said, I think I'm done here, because he knew in this pitch there's that much he can do. And today was not the day to exert himself.
Also, I went down when I went down to the presentation, and when I put on the jacket, I realized it was actually quite hot. Because once the clouds went away, it was very hot and humid there, and Bumrah had bowled 7.5 overs, and that can be quite a lot in those conditions. I thought he might go back to Ashwin and say, look, yeah, I trust you a little bit, but he went with Siraj for an over, then went with Kuldeep. But I liked what I saw in those two little overs that Ashwin bowled in the end. I mean, you could say there was nothing in there, but you just wanted to see the rhythm that augurs well for the next couple of games. I thought Will Young looked very good. I don't know if Kane Williamson will be ready in time for the Pune test, but if he is, it might be a little tricky. Will they actually have to leave out Will Young in the balance of this side? Because Daryl Mitchell has done well for them lately. Blundell is the keeper. Ravindra is doing okay, and Phillips comes in as the second spinner. So they've got what people call a good problem, but as someone once told me, a good problem is a problem too.
Yes, I think if they come across a pitch where they're only, when they know it's only going to assist spin, they'll probably leave out one of the fast bowlers and bring in Kane Williamson. That's also an option they have.
I also very much like Will O'Rourke. That Tim Southey, I thought he bowled well with the new ball. Increasingly, as he gets older, he's looking more a new ball bowler. Southey. I'm not sure there's a lot there with the old ball. Even Matt Henry looked a new ball bowler. In fact, this entire New Zealand attack, they use a new ball well. But there's something about Will O'Rourke. The height is a big advantage. But I found that he wasn't just hitting the back of the length line. He was actually letting it go a little fuller and creating the odd problem.
Yeah, you got the physical aspects, right? The top, tall, so he gets
I think
the
he's got a difference of opinion on the rings.
No.
You got the physical aspects, right?
No, I was just trying to say a sign of a good bowler, Harsha, in international cricket is, or rather for a good bowler is, there'll be many spells where you don't pick up a wicket. But when you pick up a wicket, you should make it 2 or 3. So basically, you trouble the batters in such a way that they find it hard at the start of the innings. That is a very important aspect of being a good bowler. You see the best of bowlers, that will always be the case. If they pick up a wicket, the next batter, more often than not, will struggle when they have just walked in. And that was evident with Will O'Rourke, which is a good sign for him and ominous signs for team that play against him. If you look at his attributes, he's tall, he gets bounce and steep bounce from from good length. And that is always tough for the bowlers. A little bit of seam movement, not too much swing. He is definitely not the finished product even today, but what he has is good pace and bounce, and most importantly, good fitness, because he's able to bowl the same speeds irrespective of where the game is, even if he's in the 60th over or the 80th over. Came back in the second new ball. When there was an opportunity, picked up 3 in that spell.
And they're going to be a spin bowling option short when they go to Pune because Michael Bracewell goes back. But Inder Beer, my good friend Inder Beer comes back. Inder Beer Singh Sodhi comes back. I met him just as I was coming back from the presentation. You know, we've got this little game going. Every time I meet him, he asks me a quiz question. Every time I meet him, I ask him a quiz question. And he just asked me, he said, no quiz question. Ghumega? Pune mein ghumega? Because he's trying to see whether he can get a place in his I think it'll help the finger spin a little bit more, but we'll wait and see. New Zealand very dominant then. Overall, if you look at it, they had their moments when it looked like India might take the game away, but that second new ball, we talked about it at great length yesterday. So now we can look ahead, or we can put the man in the bright yellow shirt in the hot spot. Okay, let's go back to your good friend, Rohit Sharma. Okay, and your good friend, Gautam Gambhir. Now, why is he not your good friend? You look at me like that as if...
No, both I get same reaction. I'm worrying where this question is going, but I'll wait.
No, you have now both of them put together.
Correct.
Okay, so you're effectively the RCB, like you're the RCB Supremo now. Oh. Effectively, you're like that with the Indian team. Shubman Gill is going to be fit again.
Definitely. For
the second test match.
Correct.
Now, India have you can't leave out Sarfaraz after this innings he played. I thought he played magnificently. KL Rahul goes out. What do you do? Or do you have a left field thought?
I have a left field thought where I feel if the pitch is going to be one that aids a lot of spin, then India will have to let go of Siraj and just play Bumrah. And instead of Kuldeep, they'll play Akshar. So instead of Siraj, you can always slot in Shubman Gill. That way you bat deep, and at the same time, you have 3 spinners who will do the job for you, who have done the job for you, provided it is a pitch that's going to turn from day one. But if not, I think the obvious choice at this point of time, as you said, don't think we can leave Sarfaraz because of how well he's batted under the circumstances he batted. You got to value all of that. And the obvious choice becomes, can they have a conversation with KL Rahul and say, yes, I think in this game it might be hard to play.
And that's okay. I mean, very often, sometimes in our digital media as well, in other media as well, we look upon being left out as a game as this huge punishment, as if to say, stand in a corner. No, sometimes the way the team balance works, sometimes you're not part of that balance. That's okay. Even in our commentary box, sometimes there's only one stint to do. You look at someone who's best suited to do that. So being left out is not a crime. It is not a giant punishment. But I think that is the way that India might go to. It'll be a big call if they start that test match with three finger spinners. That'll tell you about that surface. Is Pune that kind of surface? Or will you have to make it that kind of surface? And will India make it that kind of surface?
I don't know if India will make it. I really don't know. But if you leave a dry surface, it's a red soil pitch, it'll begin to turn. And it gets slower. That's the only problem with red soil. As the days go and as the sun beats down on it, it'll get slower and you have to put that much more effort. It won't be a quick finish. It'll take time because getting out also becomes tough. But if they go that direction, if they decide to play on a good pitch, which is always the case in red soil, they'll be at the start a lot for the fast bowlers and they'll get good for batting. And then towards the end, you'll get the spinners in play. And that's the way that India have played for a long time now. Which way they choose to go is a decision that we will know in a couple of days' time. But I won't be surprised if it is one where it starts with the spinners getting a lot of help.
And we won't try and remember Stephen O'Keefe. What, he got 12 wickets in that in that test match. Turner, Steve Smith scored 100 for the ages. Are you a little worried about the batting at all? Because in recent times, there have been collapses. We talk, especially in Indian conditions, about the depth of the Indian batting. This is what our producers put up today. 15 for 7, 54 for 7. That was in this test match. Look at the H's, because I think the H's are more important than the A's. When you're talking of the away games, India's balance is very different from the balance here. But 74 for 6, 95 for 6, 44 for 6, 83 for 5. I mean, you can look at where it started. Look, if it starts from 403 for 4, you're okay. If it starts from 408 for 3, also you're largely okay. But is there a concern about the batting?
if you look at these numbers, yes, it does paint a picture saying there's been quite a few collapses. You got to understand there's only been 12 test matches and 8 out of that, if you've collapsed, it's not a great sign. It is worrying when you look at that stat. I would say India at this point of time could be a little vulnerable when there is quite a bit for the fast bowlers, but that could be the case for any team. I mean, if you're trying to tell me that if New Zealand played on first day, they would have gotten a lot more, I would be very surprised. It was a tough pitch, there is no doubt. What I would be worried about though is the second innings. That is a place where India should have definitely done a lot better. First innings is an aberration, but second innings, it was hard, but it was not one where you're completely new to it. You would have played such conditions quite a bit, and that is a part that I would definitely relook and have a conversation if required and address it amongst the batters, saying what can we do better in those kind of situations.
Well, no, where that leaves India on that World Test Championship table. India very, very serious about that World Test Championship, which is good to see. By the way, not every country is, and this is not a big revelation. Not every country is as serious about that World Test Championship. I think there's 4 or 5 countries really that realistically want to go and play that final, but the percentage of points has come down from 74 to 68. India were hoping to have a clean sweep of the home season, so that when they went to Australia, they'd be in a position of great comfort, not needing to win too many test matches. You, of course, go there and you want to win, but purely from the point of view of the WTC. If India don't win the next two, that is when the real flutter will start.
Correct.
And as it is, if India do make that World Test Championship final, they're going to have to play 6 test matches in 7 weeks or 8 weeks, which is not going to be easy. So it's 2-1 to India, or are we still sitting on a high horse and saying, yeah, we win India? I mean, India haven't lost a home series since 2013.
It's not easy to beat India. Let's make that very clear. Any visiting team, it would mean a lot to them, the fact that they've come to India, but they would also know the conditions favored them in a big way, which doesn't happen always.
They got the best.
They got the best.
To be fair, they made the most of it, but they got the best.
Yeah. In that pitch, because it was raining so much, they couldn't prepare it the way they would have ideally wanted. Add to the fact that it was under the covers. Rohit Sharma, in spite of winning the toss, taking a decision which was a bit dubious at that point of time.
But I thought it was a fair call for him to put his hand up and say, "I'm sorry, I got it wrong." It's a fair call.
It tells you the sign of a good leader and take everything into consideration. Interestingly, when New Zealand batted a lot of the times, the weather was good. India batted, it was pretty cloudy a lot. Like even this, when they started batting with Pant and Sarfaraz, it wasn't like it was bright and sunshine as we are used to. So put everything into context. I don't want to give excuses. I think credit to New Zealand because they were put under pressure and they responded to it. So I wouldn't like to take anything away from New Zealand. Overall, a very good performance. When the conditions were good, they made use of it. When the conditions were hard, they did go for runs. But when the moment came, they again grabbed it. And that's the sign of a good team and a team that wants to do well. So all in all, a test match that New Zealand deserves to win. If you ask me what the result will be at the end of 3 test match, I'll still back India to say 2-1 is a very, very good possibility. But the beauty of this sport is I thought it would be a 3-0 and I'm mistaken in a bad way. And that's the beauty of the sport. You got to agree that, when teams come to win and sometimes things go their way, it could very well be that Pune could be another game where New Zealand could dominate. We'll wait and see. But for the moment, I'll still put my money on India to say in India to beat India takes a lot of effort.
And he's got a fair amount. By the way, I've been to his house in Chennai. I'm very happy for him for the house in Chennai. But anyway, just before we finish, I want to say something about the people in Bengaluru. Normally, you look at Bengaluru and say only RCB, and there were chants of RCB, and sometimes RCB can be a touch polarizing. But what I enjoyed was their wholehearted support for Test match cricket, because I think Test match cricket needs all the support. I mean, there's a lot of people talking it up. It needs all the support it can get. We got a amazing test match in Kanpur.
Yeah.
There's been a very good test match up in Multan, the first of those. Now a very good test match in Bengaluru. Even on the last day, they turned up in decent numbers. So well done, Bengaluru, because we could do with that kind of.
And also the first game against Bangladesh, Chennai had a very good crowd, even though it was slightly less. Test match of 12,000 to 15,000 every day, which is great.
Right, before we finish, our producers just sort of rapped me on the knuckles and said, "You didn't ask DK something." So he's saying, are you going to go 3-spin 2 pace, or are you just going to go 3-spin 1 pace?
I would go 3-spin 1 pace, depending on the pitch. It's a very hard question to answer right now. We're just answering blind, so we don't know. It could very well be they're going with 2 and 2 as well.
The other thing, of course, is this where's he gone? Rishabh Pant's knee, because it was an injury sustained during play. he could come out at number 5 and he could get Dhruv Jurel. By the way, a little thumbs up for Dhruv Jurel. I thought he came magnificently. And that's a very good sign for Indian cricket. But now going into the second test, he will be carrying the injury into the test match, which means he cannot only bat and not keep. So will you say long season ahead? Or you just trust the physio and say, physio, Rishabh, whatever you say, if you're fit, you play.
Yeah, you have to trust the physio. And he knows there's a long summer ahead of them. It's going to be another 6 test matches, after 7 test matches, including Pune. So there's a lot to play for. They wouldn't hurry him up. If his knee is not ready, definitely they'll give him a break. But let's just hope he's ready because he makes a massive difference to this test team.
I know. And I hope when he gets into the 90s, he converts it, but I'm not losing sleep even if he doesn't. But that's okay. That's a separate issue. He's a mighty player. So there you are. 1-0. As Rohit Sharma said in the presentation, he said, we've been 1-0 down in the past, and against England, we won 4-1. So it might well be 2-1, but we'll wait and see.
But Harsha, I want to ask you,
Chapandi.
First thing.
First thing, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the Mumbai, you're doing the second test?
No, I'm not doing the second test.
You're taking too many holidays, Harsha.
You are the one who keeps making fun of me and how much I travel and how I'm getting on in life. Today, a friend of mine sent me a message saying, "Thoda salt has arrived." So people are constantly commenting on it. No, there's only that much you can do. What is that much you can do?
Kenya, you're being too. You're planning Bali. Now, Pune test also, if you go. What is happening? I don't understand.
No, I've long toured in New Zealand. Just like the players, you will also get
Take
to
a break
stage.
in between.
Just you will also get to a stage when you've got to space it out. But I'm looking forward to inviting all of you in home.
Also, you're calling.
I've already told you. Come on, I've already told you. Come to Mumbai. I must warn you though. You've not seen my house. My house is about 1/8 the size of your house in Mumbai. So you can't get lost. It's not like in your place I can come and stay for a week and you won't know. I can just tell Deepika I'm coming and you won't know.
I'll tell you, my worry is not the space. It's the fact that I have to psych my mind because it's going to be vegetarian food.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not. I'm the only vegetarian in the house. The others aren't.
Well done, Anita.
Have all the animals you want, but it's good to be able to smile. I won't be surprised if Pune is a turner, and I won't be surprised if Mumbai is normally very good pitches as well, but I won't be surprised if it errs on the side of a little bit of turn. We'll join you in Pune, join you in Mumbai, join you as always on Cricbuzz Chatter. Thanks for your support. See you soon.